How's this for a change? Abel Edwards is a slow, low-budget film with stiff, even wooden performances, dry dialogue, iffy editing, but you want to see it. You really do. Now, it's not unusual for even the best of films to have their share of flaws. It's just as common for the worst of movies to have their bright spots. Abel Edwards isn't amongst the worst. No, not by a long shot. As flawed as it may be, Abel Edwards is conceptually strong, with a good script, touching on a number of pertinent social issues. But that's not why you want to see it. No, you want to see Abel Edwards because it's a professional, commercially viable film that a lot of amateurs could duplicate, any wannabe could aspire to make.
Abel Edwards, take two.
Okay, future filmmakers, listen up. It all starts with a story, and in that department, Abel Edwards wins. Big. Claiming to draw its inspiration from Citizen Kane, and certainly using the Orson Welles masterpiece as a template of sorts, Abel Edwards is a thinly veiled take on the life of Walt Disney, only set in the future. The original Edwards, according to the film, was a pioneering artist who invented an iconic cartoon character, just like Disney. He eventually built a corporate empire known in part for its robotics. Disney's early animatronics taken to their logical conclusion.
Now, to accomplish this, we created a new type of animation. So new that we had to invent a new name for it.
The original Edwards is long dead, but the good news is he was frozen, cryogenically preserved, just as urban myth always claimed for Walt Disney. The one twist here being that instead of trying to bring him back to life, the body of Abel Edwards is mined for his DNA. See, the company he spawned has saturated its market and stopped growing. So, to revitalize its sales, they cloned the creative genius who gave rise to them in the first place, hoping that when he grew up, he would take the reins and lead them into a new golden age. Or, something like that.
You're a very important person. When you get older, you're going to take over my position and run this massive company. I'll be working for you.
Maybe there's nothing new about the problems with corporate greed, the never-ending growth fallacy, but cloning is fairly new to our social consciousness. And Abel Edwards doesn't simply introduce the issue then move on. No, Abel Edwards delves fully into the legal and even personal ramifications of cloning. We watch as Edwards struggles to define himself, for example. Yes, he's a copy of the great Abel Edwards. He knows this, but he also sees himself as a separate, unique person. The clone can't even draw.
It's the fact that I didn't make this. And it's proof. This is proof that I'm not him. That I'm me. I have my own choices. Oh, Rosemary, I can't even draw.
Another noteworthy turn is how the new Edwards eventually revitalizes the company. While our Disney and the fictional Abel Edwards of the past both made their mark selling fantasy to the masses, the Edwards clone markets reality.
The transit tube platforms between here and Civipod 70, they're packed full of excited people, all waiting to experience for the very first time something absolutely real.
But that's the plot, and as good as it is, it's not necessarily why anyone will want to see this film. Like I said, you're going to want to watch this because this is a film that any amateur can make, and any dreamer or wannabe can aspire to.
Everyone here seems to have forgotten that the Edwards clone and I were married. And I don't care if you made him, because the second he took his first breath, he was his own person. And he was my husband.
Mrs. Edwards.
And I'm entitled to everything that was his.
Mrs. Edwards.
And if he were any other person, we would not be here right now.
Mrs. Edwards, calm down.
Abel Edwards was shot with a camcorder entirely in front of a green screen. This is called chroma keying in the business. Using the chroma key, you can put your actors in any environment, anywhere in the world. Hey look, Stonehenge. I always wanted to see the pyramids. We're back in the 70s. Ooh, the moon. Now, the system is hardly perfect though, especially for low or no budget productions, and often results in anything from a green tint on your actors to a full-blown green halo. Now, editing software usually tackles these issues, but sometimes they can lead to as many problems as they solve. And one cheap and easy workaround is to simply convert your video to black and white, masking the spillage. This is precisely what the makers of Abel Edwards appear to have done for a number of shots, making me wonder if their choice of black and white was a last-minute workaround rather than something that was planned from the start. And speaking of cheap and easy, you can buy a chroma key background, you can book a studio like this one and use theirs, or you can even make your own. Now, I've found people online making their own professional quality screens using everything from bed sheets to paper. Paint, though, is by far the most popular choice. Stopping by a local paint shop here, I had absolutely no problem finding a suitable shade of green, and at up to half the price of the specialty paints. Search online for recommendations on brands and shades. And if you're going to go this route, be careful with your script. You probably want something that reads more like a play than an action movie. Your actors are never really going anywhere. They have to stay in front of the green screen, so even simple action like walking is hard to pull off convincingly. You may have to make the movie you can make, not the one you want to make, but you can definitely make one. Watch Able Edwards. Be inspired.
Next month, when you're putting in your votes for senator, I want you to think about this. Your lives are a business. And like all businesses, it takes calculated actions to maneuver through it. Sometimes we take risks, but they're always calculated risks.